Today's reading is from Luke 13:31 through 35. At that very hour, some Pharisees came to him and said, "Get away from here, for Herod wants to kill you." He said to them, "Go and tell that fox for me, listen, I am casting out demons and performing cures today and tomorrow, and on the third day I finish my work. Yet today, tomorrow, and the next day I must be on my way, because it is impossible for a prophet to be killed outside of Jerusalem. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it. How often I have desired to gather your children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you were not willing. See, your house is left to you, and I tell you, you will not see me until the time comes when you say, 'Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord.'"
In an article entitled "As a Hen Gathers Her Brood," printed in the Christian Century, Reverend Barbara Brown Taylor said, "Given the number of animals available, it's curious that Jesus chooses a hen. Where's the biblical precedent for that? What about the mighty eagle of Exodus or Hosea's stealthy leopard? What about the proud lion of Judah mowing down his enemies with a roar? Compared to any of those, a mother hen does not inspire much confidence." But a mother hen is what Jesus chooses. It's another reversal, another surprise like we see happen so often with Jesus. And in this same breath, in this same passage, he says the first shall be last and the last shall be first. It's upside down. We've heard before, the poor will be exalted and the high and mighty will be brought low. So is it any surprise, really, that Jesus would choose a hen? I mean, that's about as far from a fox as you could get. He called Herod the fox, referred to himself as a mother hen. What are you and I called to be? Foxes or chickens? Sounds kind of funny, since people call each other chicken and dare one another, yes? But it's a question of what's your focus? Are you a predator? Are you cunning? Or is it really about an image here of a mother hen who will protect her chicks? Are you one who will protect your loved ones? You know, we often say, be like Jesus. So today we're looking at worshiping a chicken deity. Some of you have noticed there's a little box sitting up here. So I'd like to introduce you to Little Bit. That's not her picture up there, but that was another one of our chickens. Look at all the people. That was another one of our chickens, and can you see her little chicks back there? Still see the little egg underneath her? Her one is not hatched yet. This is Little Bit. She is the oldest of Shelley's in my flock. Now, some of you may not know that we raise chickens. We have a whole bunch. She is a Banty, but she is more than just a Banty. She is a Sarama, which is the smallest of all the breeds, I believe. So she's a pretty little girl. And she is the oldest and smallest of our flock. I can tell you that she's a really good mother. And even though she's tiny, she's hatched out many a chick. And she doesn't care if they're her eggs or somebody else's eggs. In fact, she's a really good adoptive mom. And if you take fertilized eggs from one of the bigger chickens, full-size chicken, and put under her, she will hatch them out, and she will raise them just as if they were her own. What does that say about God? To image God as a chicken who will take anyone and raise them. In this story, Jesus is not going to be king of the jungle, but Jesus is a mother hen who stands between the chicks and those who mean to do them harm, just like a chicken will. She has no fangs, no claws, no rippling muscles. All she has is her willingness to shield her babies from harm. We always hear the stories of, the sheep and the shepherd and following the voice of the shepherd, but this is following the voice of the mother hen. This is a hen who spreads out her wings, and she's getting ready to be protected, whether she has to fly or get over them, or as you see, she flew at the camera, because that made her very nervous, that mother hen who was trying to get her chicks up over that step. Do you notice how some of them go off on their own? Hello, hello. Some of us are a little slower following. Hello, hello. And yet, cluck, 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 follow me, cluck, 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 follow me. Comes and she runs around, checking on them all. What an image for us of God. Yes? The Reverend Matlila Chabaku is a member of South African Parliament and community organizer, a social spiritual activist who passed away this past year. And she said that when a bully beats up a small boy in the street, the powerlessness of the small boy is so great that you want to do something to the bully. It isn't the bully's strength that moves you to act. When a person who is suicidal is at the top of a building, peering over the edge and preparing to jump, who helps? It's not the person with a gun out shooting freeze to the one wanting to die. Rather, it's the person who speaks softly, with their pockets inside out and their hands out, who's able to make a difference and save a life. In our attempt to recover from the evil of apartheid, the people of South Africa are learning the sacred lesson of the power of powerlessness. Powerlessness. The ability to acknowledge that there's evil and a force going on, but an ability to stand with the one who's in crisis. Not to do something to the bully, but to be moved with compassion to the one who was bullied. To stand with. To feel the pain of the one who feels like they're about to commit suicide. And to have the gentleness and the compassion. To acknowledge the vulnerability rather than forceful power. To find strength in vulnerability. To notice our own quiet inner strength. Strength of conviction, strength of faith, strength of truth. Strength that comes from knowing you are doing the right thing for the right reason. That can hold you to your task. See, the temple was understood to be the dwelling place of God. It was understood to be a place of refuge and of safety. Yet Jerusalem, the city that was home to the temple, almost synonymous with the temple, had become a place of power and privilege. Jesus said Jerusalem was a city that killed the prophets and stoned messengers sent to it. So it was another reversal of what they were supposed to be. So Jerusalem ends up representing a form of institutional power and authority that establishes and instead of being the place that would defend God's people, it ends up being a place that oppresses God's people by defending power and authority itself. It ended up silencing and marginalizing people who would criticize it or were different in some way, just like the prophets did and as Jesus was doing. So Jesus does this reversal yet again and moves the metaphor of the temple away from the physical temple or the city to himself. The temple is no longer the place of refuge, yet Jesus wants to provide that refuge for everyone. He wants to provide that place by gathering them under his wings, as a mother hen would gather her chicks that are running all around and protect them. It's not a big, strong image, is it? You have the strong, forceful edifice of the temple itself. You have the people in political and religious power. And here's the contrast. Jesus is saying, I'm like a mother hen with my wings, and I will gather them under me. He would provide refuge and protection, a dwelling place over and against the threat, the oppression, the power of Herod the fox, and of all institutional power. Get the reversal? You may have some friends, or maybe it's you yourself, who have been angry at churches in the past. Maybe you have felt like a church has wounded you or hurt you, disappointed you. I want to encourage you today and encourage you to share with friends that we do not need the refuge and protection of institutions, but we need the protection and the refuge of the divine one. Amen. Because the earthly structures will let us down. They will. When religious and political institutions oppress us, you and I need to learn the sacred power of powerlessness, and in our vulnerability find our inner strength from the one who's given us life. Jesus wants to gather you and I under his wings. Under his wings. You know, you've heard perhaps before the images of God as Mother Eagle, but here's God as Mother Hen. A very feminine image of God wanting to watch over you and nurture you. So when churches or temples or religious people cast you out or hurt you, look to the divine rather than to earthly powers. Again, it's that reversal to realize we are not powerless in the face of institutional oppression. Amen? We think we are, but we are not. We have incredible power. It's divine power. Here's Jesus saying, Jerusalem killed prophets and messengers of truth and love. And yet, here he is. The images include that violent opposition to Jerusalem and point that they are persistent in their opposition, but God is persistent in loving us. God is persistent in justice. And Christ is persistent in speaking truth to Jerusalem, in speaking truth to the people of his day and to our day, and still wants to gather these wayward chicks in a whole different metaphor. Jesus, in that situation in Jerusalem, appears weak and alone. Yeah? Isn't he another messenger that they could stone? Isn't there a Pharisee coming and saying, you need to get out of town because they want to kill you? So Jesus appears weak and alone, just a chicken, a simple chicken that anyone could get. Yet he survives. He survives, and we might say, wait a second, didn't they kill him? Uh-huh, but didn't he rise again? Hello? Checking. Are you there? Do you know the end of the story? He's powerful beyond their understanding. Courage is not related to perceived size, like a mother chicken's courage. So come on back here a little bit. Her size says nothing of her strength. You want to spread those wings? I'm not ready for that part. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. She's a survival chicken. You've heard about cats having 9 lives. Let me tell you, this chicken's got 9 lives. She only got 1 long toe left on each foot and a couple of stubs because she suffered frostbite and lost her toes. But she still flies up to her roosts and she gets around pretty good. Her family was attacked by different other predators, and she has survived attacks to the hen house by skunks, by raccoons, by coyotes, and by bobcats. There was a time that one of those critters, I can't remember which one it was now, that attacked at her pen and had it torn open, and whatnot, and she was gone, and I was sure she was dead. And 3 days later, irony. It's true. 3 days later, she came walking out in the backyard from out of the grove of plum trees we have. Clucking, she heard my voice and came to me. When the bobcat came into the hen house and killed so many of the chickens, we found her the next morning up on the roof, still surviving. She's a survivor. Are you? She's a survivor. She has more strength and more power than you would think for such a little, tiny critter. Reverend Elder Mona West said, "Our courage doesn't have to be on a grand scale. It's simply the willingness to face difficulty and begin again. Courage is our commitment to wholeheartedness over the long haul." I keep putting her down because you know how they... Archbishop Oscar Romero said, "My life has been threatened many times, I have to confess. And I don't believe in death without resurrection. If they kill me, I will rise again in the Salvadorian people." And so he did. Killing the messenger does not kill the message. Amen? And the gospel writers, who were writing some 4 to 9 decades after Jesus' execution, imaged Jesus as being courageous in his work for justice and in the face of opposition. And they returned the favor by keeping his mission alive long after his death, as we do today. Jesus rises again in the Jesus movement and in you and I. Remembering Jesus as fearless helps the communities conquer their fear as well, and it can help us conquer our fear as well. It's not new, this thinking of a chicken deity. It's not new. But we, like our spiritual ancestors, tend to forget our lessons. I guess I'm supposed to pick her up again here. I'm sorry, baby. Up and down. And you're crying because you'd like to get out. This is the part for your wings. Okay. You see, in Psalm 91, that we're going to hear in just a few moments in our meditation time, Psalm 91 reminds us that God will protect you with God's pinions, and you will find refuge under God's wings. Now, you may not know what a pinion is. You've probably heard that psalm read in church and it just gone right by you, and you'll be protected under God's wings, and you've probably thought eagle, God as mother eagle. But a pinion is the wing of a bird. It is the outer rear edge of the wing, containing the primary feathers of the bird. That's the pinion. So you will be protected with God's pinions. And what does the hen do when she has chicks under her? She spreads her wings and makes a space. Look how many she can accommodate under there. She has sat on 13 eggs before, this little tiny hen. And they're able to nestle down and spread those wings out and keep them warm to hatch them. It's a lot more space than you would think. So it's not necessarily eagle's wings in Psalm 91. It could be a chicken's wings. And we are encouraged to seek shelter in that which may seem weak and small to us. You may think God has no power on earth today. You may think that the powers of earth are greater. And yet our chicken deity says, "I've got so much strength. And I love you. And I will protect you, my chicks." God says, "Because you're devoted to me, I'll rescue you. I'll protect you. Because you know my name, whenever you cry out to me, I'll answer. I'll be with you in troubling times. I'll save you and glorify you." So I encourage you today to say, "I want to know you, God. I want to know you as Mother Hen." And let our response be, as in Psalm 91, verses 1 and 2. "Living in the Most High shelter, camping in El Shaddai's shade, I say to the Almighty, you are my refuge, my stronghold. You are my God, in whom I will trust." Amen.
Living in the Most High shelter, camping in the Almighty's shade, I say to Yahweh, you are my refuge, my stronghold. You are my God, the one I trust. God will save you from the hunter's trap and from deadly sickness. God will protect you with God's pinions. You'll find refuge under God's wings. God's faithfulness is a protective shield. Do not be afraid of terrors at night, arrows that fly in daylight, or sickness that prowls in the dark, destruction that ravages at noontime. You will march on top of lions and vipers. You'll trample young lions and serpents underfoot. God says, because you are devoted to me, I'll rescue you. I'll protect you because you know my name. Whenever you cry out to me, I'll answer. I'll be with you in troubling times. I'll save you and glorify you. I'll show you my salvation.